All right, cyber traders, welcome on back here to close out our week here this Friday, September 10th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back, of course, at this time of the day for our afternoon meeting. Great to see all of our students and trial members alike inside the cyber group room today. We got Felix, Martha, Rod, Patrick, Jeffrey, Leda, Kevin, William, got Ray, David A. Got a lot of us here still sticking with us here heading into the end of the week, and rightfully so. Actually, I mean, BBIG finally is starting to make a move now, but we actually had a pretty interesting morning, really interesting early afternoon so far. So there is a lot to talk about. We don't really have class coming up ahead later on today, but I do want to make sure I have enough time to talk about Bitcoin crypto heading into the end of the week, into the weekend. So right now, full disclosure, I always say it. I'm in this position. I mean, you can see it's on my level too. I'm in the position. I'm in on 1,500 shares currently. I was in on 2,000 at first, and then I scaled out just a quarter of the position right off of, well, how about this? Before I go into my entry and go into this trade in full, allow me to ask all of our students inside this cyber group room, and for those of us really that have been with us here in the room across the last 48 hours, if there's one price level, one that I've been harping on, screaming from the mountaintops across the last 48 hours on this trade here, do you recall what that price is, folks? Now, not everyone's going to remember off the top of their head. This is just one of many stocks we've been calling out across the last 2 days. But man, if you've been following this stock, thoroughly, then you should know that $11.12 in particular is a really big level. Now, let me show you as to why. Now, I drew the line here right now, but I just scaled out 500 shares off of 11.13 just to take some profit. But here, let me bring up level 4, and I'll show you exactly how I prepped up this chart for the open today. So this is the opening bell print back from actually Wednesday's trading back from September 8th this week. We ended up seeing a 544,000 share print on the tape upon the market opening up right at $11.12. Now, that's where I scaled out. That's where I just took a quarter of my position just to close. I ended up jumping in this trade off of $10.80. Now, that's not a price level we were harping on, from yesterday, but it's to say that 1080 was actually the closing print, the closing bell print that we had back from Wednesday's trading, right? Well, between that and, well, if you look at this actually yesterday, just on the 9th, the closing bell print yesterday, 131 plus thousand share print, not 1080 on the nose, 2 pennies north at 1082. But it's for me to tell you that this morning, I mean, I was watching this all throughout the day. I mean, it was shaking around 11. I took a couple of entries from $11.12. It moved up beautifully at first in the morning. But when it started to come back down here, I was getting chopped around a slight bit. And then with it making lower highs, you knew which way it was going to go. So once it ended up breaking back lower or breaking back down here and stopping me out, I took a -7 and dropped off much lower. It's to say, well, hey, I'm not totally writing off the stock just yet. If it can make a bounce from the next big major level, then I'll try and see where it can go. So every trade begins with the entry, folks. Every single trade that we take begins with getting in. I'm not worried about setting my stop or how far I can run this stock up to before I get in the trade. Right, I got to get in. I'm not just going to throw a dart on the wall and hope it lands. You can't catch the falling knife, especially on something as wicked as this. So it's to say that as soon as this broke below 1080 and then snapped right back above 1080, I jumped in, set my stop right below me, and thankfully it's worked out really well. I know a few of us actually are in this trade currently as we speak. Maybe you had gotten out just right before we started, but I know that Martha was in from 1090, Felix in from 1096. And perhaps a couple more otherwise. But yeah, for right now, needless to be said here with the squeeze up and considering how familiar we are with this stock in general, BBIG definitely going to put on the main list here so far. And hopefully this ends up making a bigger move up into the close. I've been kind of not like, correlating BBIG and ANY, but this is also, a stock that's been as volatile perhaps across the last week compared to the BBIG. So with that squeezing up, I felt compelled here live just to check out this stock. This wasn't one that we really followed into the market open today. At least it wasn't on the morning watch list. It was on our side list, mind you, but as soon as we ended up seeing this begin to trend down after the market opened up, and more so really breaks support, you know what direction it's going to go in. So, it's to say the stock did make a nice bounce from like 650-ish, probably broke Oh no, actually it hit 650 to the low of the day, so it didn't even break under and over 650. But needless to be said, made a nice bounce after. Now at this point, this thing is like super flat and now beginning to shake a little bit here. So listen, BBIG will put on the main list. The ANY trade, also the big winner across the last week or two, not looking as great right now. All right. Now, what I will do really just to kind of conserve time, we'll go thoroughly through at least the morning movers, but I'll start right from the top and work my way down. So here we have the ISEE trade dropping off more as we speak. Iveric Bio. I think this had to do with phase 3 studies and research. They had said for geographic atrophy, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was within the headline. I don't know the first thing about geographic atrophy, folks, so don't ask me about that. It's to say, though, that, hey, this stock was trending down off the highs leading into the open. And although it made a really nice pop, into the morning, it took a little bit, right? It was consolidating within the first 3 or 5 minutes, building up this beautiful Fausto flag, really off of 1370-ish, 1375. So this was like a textbook example of a Fausto flag to where once it broke that top, that was it. So ended up making a hell of a move from that point. But man, talk about wicked. If BBIG is wicked, then how do you describe this thing? Because this ended up making a very sudden, surprising squeeze up here. Just once it ended up beginning to pull back, you would hope to see 14 hold as a potential support. But man, this ended up shaking down and then out of nowhere, just this wicked pop up, hit a high of the day off 1553. And then from there, obviously, you could see what happened. Held 14 as support pretty nicely at first. But man, I mean, just as it made the same type of pop up here, it made the same type of drop off a bit later on. So since that point, it's been a phenomenal short opportunity with this stock being easy to borrow. Something actually I want to just show since I got a little time on my hands. For ISEE, I found this pretty cool, pretty interesting. Oops, if I could bring it up, that is. There we go. This is not the opening print, of course, given that it was during the middle of the day, but we ended up seeing a 500,000 share print get filled right off of $14.25. So that was not necessarily a big level heading into the market open today, but it's like you're asking, hey, I mean, what's bigger? The 500,000 shares here at 14.25 or the 278,000 share order here at 14.90? I mean, don't get me wrong, 14.90 is huge. That giant order here on the ask. But if that's big, and if we're respecting that, then just how much do we have to respect this? So it looks like it ended up spiking right on up, held it perfectly as resistance, a big volume level, right? So, either way, I wouldn't have expected this to make a clean pop if it did break over 14.25 here initially, more so than anything. Probably look for the false breakout, but held it perfectly, snapped down. And yeah, at this point, it seems like a much better short heading into the close. So, hey, if you did well on the IS trade earlier today, ISEE that is, then, hey, maybe put it on your personal watch list for the afternoon. Maybe I'll come back to this at the very end if I need to. SGMA, a stock today that ended up popping shortly upon the market open, but really has just been moving up since. Higher lows, squeezing up sporadically. The issue on this trade is just that it has really thin volume on level 3 on the order book to the right side of my platform. So you could just see right now the spread is fluctuating. It's like 2 cents here, a penny there, 6 cents there. So, you just have to be really careful on a trade like this because, again, right place, wrong time, you can get hurt pretty quickly. Looks like this made a false breakout already off of 9 upon the first test. So, hey, I'll put this on the main list. It also is shortable, so if it does collapse, then we can try and short it like we did at least on the ISEE trade from earlier today. I shouldn't have even clicked this. AFRM, just really pricey, $123+ stock, so I should have noticed that right away. EEIQ, nice little move today this stock made. Ended up making a big pop up, not to say little, but big move today. Popped from 5 up towards 6. Ended up making a nice trend off the lows and breaking out a bit later on into 10:15, 10:30 time and moved up gradually, right? So, hey, we can't expect this stock to keep on moving up forever. We can't expect any stock to make that type of, parabolic move move continuously. So right around 11 o'clock, 11:15, stock ended up beginning to hit its highs and drop off from there. Right now, it still seems to be coiling up a bit. Again, I don't really need to put this on the main list. Maybe if I feel a need to come to this at the end, I will. EEIQ. I'm sure we would have ran into the ATER trade anyway. I think it's like number 15 or 16 on the gainer side. You don't want to follow a stock looking like this heading into the afternoon. I say that just provided this stock made a very similar move compared to the EEIQ as to where it ended up topping off. It started to squeeze here. Now it did run up a little bit more, right? Broke out, higher actually. But what happened after, right? So how much higher can you keep expecting that to make a move? Looking at EEIQ there, it didn't really, squeeze up right from this point. If anything, it made a lower high here, and maybe if we feel a need to come back to this at the end. All right, so we keep it going here. I saw John D, one of our longtime students in Cyber Group today, call out ADXS right around 60. I think it was here at the time when it was beginning to try and make a new move back up. We normally don't trade the stocks below a buck because they normally don't make consistent enough moves for us to take advantage of. Obviously, a really big pop today on this ADXS, but again, we'll come back to it if we need to. Now, I'll tell you what, ENDP Endo Pharmaceuticals, much like ISEE top percent gainer today, we're really familiar with this stock. Over the many months and years of being here in the Cyber Group room, this stock's come up, off of earnings, off of pharma news, you name it. I remember this was moving dating back to I don't even remember the year, 2017, 2018 with Mylan, MYL, and that company's not even listed anymore, I believe. So goes to show at least we're pretty familiar with this one ticker, ENDP. And hey, this couldn't have worked out any better for us here inside the trading room. Well, at least us, if you took it. I did not take this, and that was my mistake today. So this stock obviously ended up making a really nice squeeze upon the market open, but I felt as if I would be chasing it once this stock ended up beginning to pop up towards 280 and making a new high. I thought there was a pretty good chance it can make a move up to 3, but I was in a couple of other positions. I was reluctant on jumping in, and obviously I missed out on this run. So it broke out over 3, made like a 30+ cent move above 3 even. Hey, how about this? I want to give a quick shout out as I take a water break, to one of our students, Lori. Lori ended up crushing it on this trade today, not on the long either. And that's really interesting. So Lori ended up getting, and I don't want to shortchange her, I think she got like 45 cents, 43 cents on this trade. As a short, she ended up shorting it right under $3.10 here. And, hey, once it broke below 3 and we saw the selling kick in, I mean, obviously it contained its trend here on the way down, but made it a really easy trade for Lori, who picked up like 43 or 45 cents on the short. All right, so for right now, though, unfortunately, the stock is totally done for right now. There's no real volume being traded on this stock right now compared to earlier. Tattoo T2 Systems, I think it's called TTOO. Stock has been a no name for us inside the trading room, as you could see, dating back into the beginning of this calendar year. Ended up beginning to pop from roughly 150 even, moved all the way up towards over 350 before falling back down. But even outside of that, we've been familiar with this stock across the many years of being here. And if anything, I mean, I know this looks like a nice run, but this TTOO stock is a big tease. It has been a teaser of a stock in months and years past. So, I didn't feel as compelled to trade this one today. And thankfully, I ended up, moving on from this early on, ended up making a squeak up here, but that was it. All right, so we jump back to ATER. Now, ATER, I guess over the last few minutes since I left off from the stock, it broke out from 12, moved up just over 30 cents already. So, I'll come back to this at the end, perhaps. I feel like this will be the one I'll put on the list out of those that are on the side. IRNT, about time, really. Stock from Tuesday of this week. Actually, let me just go back on the 1 minute chart here if I can. Stock was a pre-market runner, or not even runner, actually. It was like a gap up from the after hours the day before and moved up a bit higher the following morning in pre-market. This is Wednesday of this week, but or Tuesday of this week, mind you. But obviously you can see the stock ended up trending down leading into the open. So you're not expecting an instant pop and run. Ended up dropping off after. Yeah, it bounced briefly from like 23-ish, 22.80. but we really weren't following the move at that point in time. I mean, we were focused on others that day, I recall, ended up snapping right back down and dumped off lower the following few days. So, we see this happen all the time. For a stock that makes a move one day, and even if it's a move that we don't trade or capitalize on, if it totally dumps back down like it did back from Tuesday this week, I'd like to think at some point in time, we're not going to like play the guessing game as far as what day, what time of day, but we would like to think this stock's going to make a second smaller run back up at least. And I guess that's what we're getting here, right? So Leda had called this out just before IRNT perking up. Kind of wild, she says. Definitely wild. Very volatile stock in terms of liquidity and how big the spread is right now. So hey, I'll put it on our list, but you know what I'll say after. If you're in the business of gambling, this is the stock for you. If you're looking to take a much more mild trade, perhaps a stock that you have a much easier time actually reading and interpreting, then I'd follow the BBIG. I'd follow the SGMA trade, perhaps even first, even though that one has kind of thin volume too. Let's see what else we got, though. This is more of a level 4 or 5 stock, at least here. All right, ATER in and out quick. I see from late on that last trade. Excellent. Let's see what else we got though. Otherwise, we got ABIS here. Kind of a dud from today. It was shortable upon the market opening up. So actually, although I didn't trade it short, it looks like it made for a really nice opportunity on the way down after the open, and then it made the slingshot after. So this stock actually was really tradable across the whole day. Down, then up, then back down. TIGR, I guess, also a nice mover from earlier on this morning. Popped from like 1425 up towards just about 1570-ish, 1580. Pulled back. I'll tell you what, there's not much else on the gainer side here, folks. Market's obviously down today and beginning to pull back a bit right now. So, I say it all the time, although we didn't find much yesterday on the loser side, perhaps we'll find a familiar name or two. Stock moving down with the market, perhaps. This APLS got smoked early on today, huh? Dropped off, early on in pre-market. Then as soon as the market opened up, got crushed. So, hey, this could have been a great short too, seemingly. But the order book is really empty right now and likely was from earlier today too. Right now, it's just chopping up a little bit in a sideways trend. So, the HGen stock treated us pretty nicely yesterday morning, heading into the afternoon a bit, right? That stock was down a lot more than the APLS, but either way, this stock had a lot easier order book to read. Consistently tight penny or two spread and just larger orders otherwise. That APLS is not exactly that. All right, so speaking of HGen, right? Number 7 on the losers list right now, down another 16 to 17% here. It's at the lows. It is shortable, right? So I'd be remiss to not put this on our watch list, actually. Now, if it doesn't break down, it wouldn't shock me, right? It's just to say that to see a stock at or near the highs or lows, respectively, of the day, that's something I'll jump to a little bit more. The stock is shortable. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I like the BBIG trade a lot more. I like the SGMA trade, as long as that's still trending up right now, more. But we'll put this on here still, the HGen. An RLX maybe. Nah, this one's not really doing a whole lot right now. Man, talk about the it was the best of times and it was the worst of times scenario here on Givo, huh? It kind of reminds me of Clove of this week, Clover Health. Remember Clove from this week back on Tuesday made this giant pop and ran up for us nicely in the afternoon a bit, and look what happened the following days after, right? So that Givo trade right now, if it was dropping off steadier towards the lows and breaking back under 7, perhaps we could see a better short trade. I don't know. If you did well on this stock from yesterday, then I'm sure you'll be more open to following this trade perhaps for the afternoon, especially with it still near 7. But for right now, I'll see if there's anything else moving a bit better. Tal's moving a little bit better so far on the way down, for really kind of comparing one over the other here, right? This is at the lows, broke below the low from yesterday, broke below 5. It's still kind of near all-time lows dating back to late July when all these Chinese education-based companies dropped off. So, hey, it's not the fastest mover, but it's right here right now at the lows. So we'll see if this can continue to drop. All right. So I'll tell you what, that's all I got on the gainers and losers end here, folks. I'm sure there's plenty more that could be up or down more than 5%. So if there are any that look really good, folks, just type it in the chat board. Let me know. Got from Jose on YouTube. Welcome aboard, Jose. He's saying MMAT on the move. Mm, eh, eh. It's just a tradable stock. I mean, there's so many that we can call kind of tradable, but doesn't mean it's going to be worth our time across the next hour and 10 minutes, right? So it's a nice level 1 to 2 stock in terms of how we categorize it in terms of volatility. It's a great intro stock for anyone new to day trading looking to get their feet wet. Really tight spread. Love the order book. You got a big iceberg order here, right? So, tradable, just nothing really to write home about on this trade. Probably say that for like so many other stocks, the airlines, the cruise lines, the casino stocks, all of our COVID stocks dating back to the beginning of last year. Pretty interesting as I turn to American Airlines. Conveniently, this is actually at the low of the day, mind you. So I'll tell you what, AAL looks kind of good here as a potential short. Check out the rest of the other airlines heading into the end of the week here. Obviously, with the market dropping off, increased concerns for COVID heading into the fall season and travel altogether. We're happening to see a bit of a drop off collectively. Interesting, folks. Interesting times. I'll tell you what, cruise lines aren't moving as sharp compared to the airlines, so I guess we'll kind of scratch those off. I might just kind of tag the airlines altogether on the watch list here. That UAL trade looked really good. That's breaking lower as we speak. American Airlines, a little less volatile compared to the United, but also making the same move. So I think I will do that. I like that idea. Airlines all together. We'll kind of just tag on our watch list here to wrap things up. All right. Let's see. I don't really see much else from us live inside Cyber Group. REFR from Lori. Wow, interesting. Up 29%, 1.4 milli traded at the highs. Right. So I guess I missed this. I don't know. This was moving on up as I was going from top to bottom, maybe. Just right now, it's not trading a whole lot of volume per minute. So this I appreciate getting called out because I clearly missed this as I was scanning the gainer side. But uh, I don't know if it ends up popping. We'll call it out and focus on it in the trading room if that happens. But otherwise, I'd like to focus on the others at first. That BBIG trade still. Look at where it's holding above. I'm going to knock on wood as I say that so I don't jinx myself here. But this is why I've been calling 11-12 out the whole last 2.5 days or 2 days. All right, folks. We got Bitcoin to talk about. Now we'll wrap it up. So, really quickly, not a whole lot to really write home about on the Bitcoin front, and that goes both ways, down and up. I mean, really, since we talked about Bitcoin from Wednesday of this week back on the 8th, a little bit of a drop off today with the market dropping again, like we had said, some stocks dropping off, the markets are dropping off, Bitcoin perhaps moving with it in relation to increased travel concerns, increased COVID concerns. That's all. But otherwise, I mean, I'm saying that we're still in good condition with Bitcoin altogether. It's holding over my 200 EMA on the 6-hour graph. For anyone new that's on the afternoon broadcasts with me, and if anyone's interested in crypto, I only follow a few charts. I follow the 1 hour, the 6-hour, the daily, the weekly. If I feel a need to jump to like a 15-minute, I will. But this on the 6-hour graph, the 200 EMA, I've been looking at as a pretty strong top and support level across the last 4 to 5 months. So with that in mind, it still might shake around a bit. And the line I really have here is off of 44,000. So perhaps it does drop a little bit lower to 44 and then snap back up. We'll see what happens, folks. Good news leads to a push up. Bad news leads to a push down. So who knows what will happen across the weekend. But I look forward to catching back up with everybody on the Bitcoin front coming into Monday next week. All right. Cardano, ADA, the only other one I would really look to go into for right now, still holding over the 200 EMA itself on the 6-hour graph. I'd say very bullish. All right, folks, that's all I got for you here today. Let me know if there's anything else here at the horn, at the buzzer here as we wrap up. SGMA getting destroyed. That doesn't sound good. I don't like the sound of that, Allie. How is my Phantom going from Brian? Ooh, that's actually a very good question. So I sold Phantom, the other crypto, and that's a great question. I should have mentioned that. I sold Phantom around 143, and then I sold it at 165 in full. I took two exits, half and half, but it kept going up, man. Phantom and Solana SOL have been huge movers across the last week. I'm not in Solana at all. Haven't been in. I've been in Phantom, but I took my profits on that. All right. Jose on YouTube. How about this? He says ADA Cardano is set to release big news coming up in 2 days. Absolutely. We've been following that, the smart contract launch on Cardano. Just to be transparent on that, and I believe I'd said this dating back to like a couple weeks ago when I first mentioned it, but when the news comes out, people might sell. They might sell, buy the rumor, sell the news type deal. So don't think that just because smart contracts are out on Cardano coming up on the 12th means that it's going to be an insta takeoff. Oftentimes it's going to be a couple week transition before we start to see bullish movement again. So hey, if I'm wrong with that and this Cardano explodes once more sooner than later, I'll be very happy to be wrong in that case, right? All right, so getting back to SGMA at least as we wrap up, the fact that this got destroyed, clearly it's not good for the long side of things. But, this is why I said, hey, if it craps out the other way, this could be a potential opportunity on the way down. So, I'll keep it on our list right now. And what I will do for the meantime, I'll slip the ATER on the watch list for right now, too. I like the push back over 12 for right now. That happened as I was, going through the list. But yeah, I like this. So we'll slip this on here at the end. All right, so how about this for all of us on YouTube and on Facebook Live today? I always do this at the end of this meeting, but for all of us, and especially those of us like Jose that's interested in crypto and those that we're tracking in the cyber group room otherwise, if you have any questions, feel more than free to send over a question right to my email address. My name is Josh Levitan. My email address, josh@ctutrading.com. But otherwise, if you're ready to make the jump and join us live inside our trading room here, especially across the next hour ahead as we wrap up the week, feel more than free to join us by going right down to the link on the banner below just to get yourself started. But for all of us there right now, including Leda, Norman, Ali, Brian, got Lori. Congrats again, Lori, on her trade, and everybody else otherwise. I look forward to speaking to you folks coming up pretty shortly. Take care.